There is a cost associated with trying. There is a cost to try. You ever heard the term you got to pay to play? It costs you to try. People talk about the cost of success, right? Like, there's really no cost effective way to become the best. It's going to really cost you something. Now, most people limit the cost of something to money being paid, right? But the reality is, I think it was Dr. Thomas Sowell talks about trade-offs and how everything in life is a trade-off. You sacrifice one thing in exchange for something else. But the reality is you can't do everything. So it's not just a sacrifice or a cost as it pertains to money. There's a cost when it comes to time, your energy, your relationships, right? Like, at times we need to leverage relationships to do certain things. There's a cost involved, right? You don't always want to tap into the same relationships to get things going, because eventually, that relationship is going to be like, all right, dude, I've tried this a few times. But the reality is it still costs something. There are always trade-offs. But I came across this example with Kirk Franklin, and he really just went into how much he has put on the line just for the opportunity to try. See, the thing about doing things and creating things is like there's no guarantee of success. There's a guarantee that you can try. There's a guarantee that you'll have the opportunity on the front end to have a go at it, but there's no guarantee that's going to work out on the back end. And that's the part that I think when we start thinking about risk, that folks who aren't in the creative space don't always get. It costs you just to try it. Think about that. It's almost like a restaurant, right? You want to try a new dish at a new restaurant, you have to pay for that dish for the opportunity to try it. Now, granted, the food might not be that good, but you got to pay to play, right? And so I'm going to play this clip from Kirk Franklin, and I think it's something for us to always be mindful of, that it costs something to simply try.
The majority of my career, if they could have seen my bank account, it would be embarrassing the amount of money that people don't know I really don't have, because I have invested so much into my dreams. You have no idea. You have no, brother, if you knew. And then because we're in a culture of fake it till you make it, I still gotta look right, boy. Wife is still gotta be whoop to whoop to whoop. The kids can't look like they from Ethiopia with the big belly. You know what I'm saying? It's like, everybody still gotta have a little drip. And it's like, you robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're on the phone with the IRS talking about, hey, I promise I'm gonna get it to you. Let me get on a payment plan. Woo, 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 woo. You know what I'm saying? It's like man, people have no idea what it costs to even not win, but just to try. Just to try. Oh, I would be embarrassed if most of my career people saw my bank account.
He said he put so much on the line just to try. I think this also becomes a litmus test with regard to what it is you're called to do, what you're driven to do, the goals that you've set. Are you willing to go through the process of getting there? Because that process is going to cost you something. Nothing worth having is going to come easy. Nothing worth having is going to come without some level of investment. And again, I'm not talking just about financial investment. Sometimes it's simply an investment of time. Maybe it's your reputation. Maybe it's your, emotions, etc. Like there's so much involved when it comes to walking things out at a very high level, or walking in your purpose, or listening to what God's called you to do. There's so many things at times that are required of you that you have to account for, that a lot of times, if people knew that, they would not follow that particular process. They want the result. They want the award. They want the reward. They want, the status and the celebrity, but they don't necessarily want that upfront investment. And that upfront investment is not to win. That upfront investment is simply just to try. Again, I think for a lot of us, man, Kirk Franklin hit the nail on the head. There's so much involved with this, but you have to really want it in your heart because it's going to cost you a lot. And it's costing you a lot just for the opportunity to try. Man, it's just fascinating to think about this because, again, a lot of the microwave mentality of, one thing results into this thing, or I take one step and it becomes a huge leap. And like, no, dude, it's not always that way. Even things that you're called to do. Some of those things that you're called to do are going to require you to invest a whole lot up front just for the opportunity. Pay to play, but not just your money, your time, your emotions, your relationships, even, the investment or the cost of sacrificing guaranteed opportunities for this potential. But in your heart that the potential is the direction that you need to walk, right? It's like from the book, The Alchemist, it talks about the pursuit of your personal legend. And it says, as you start the pursuit of your personal legend, the universe conspires to help you along on your journey, but you have to start that pursuit. And that pursuit of your personal legend, there's no guarantee that you're ultimately going to get there. But I think along the way, we ultimately find joy in the process. And once you find joy in the process, everything unlocks. And you can look at losses as lessons, but you can also realize that this cost up front to just try is actually a testament of faith. Because, even biblically, it talks about your heart is where your treasure is, or your treasure is where your heart is. Or you can find someone's heart where their treasure is. And so it's like, where are you putting your resources? That'll tell more so where your heart really is. It's funny, as an author and all of that stuff, you have books and, I've created multiple books. And the thing that's fascinating is, some people will, like the stuff that you put out and will be supportive of the things that you create until it's time for them to actually purchase or financially support. And then you kind of get a gist of who really does rock with you, who really does enjoy, like, and or believe in the thing that you've created because they're willing to invest in that thing. And again, we're talking financial there, but it's not even just that. When you put out a free podcast, or if somebody's listening to this via YouTube where they're not paying to listen to it, the time investment to listen to this is a testament of whether or not someone rocks with it or they don't, right? But at the end of the day, it's all an investment, and we all have trade-offs, and we all have options and decisions to make. And by making one decision means that I'm forfeiting the benefit of another decision, and I have to be good with that. But Kirk Franklin's message here, the whole notion of it cost just to try, man, that thing hit home for me. Does it hit home for you? Can you think through a few examples in your life where it's really costed you something just for the opportunity to try? And then my question is, what was the result of that? And if it didn't go favorably, it didn't lead to a win or some type of increase, how did you take that? How did you take that? How did you process and how did you handle it? That is an indication of where your mindset is. How you handle not the good stuff, but how do you handle it when things don't go your way? This is why it's so important for us to become the quarterback of our mindset, because if we're not, challenging situations can legitimately break us. But if we get to the point in which we become the quarterback of our mindset, we build our resiliency, challenging situations don't simply break us or don't break us. they actually have the opportunity to help build us, because that's where we build the resiliency, we learn the lessons, but then we also develop that level of grit necessary to go and do things at a very high level. So, yeah, I hope y'all really enjoyed this. Hey, share this thing out. And as always, y'all be blessed, well, and wise. And I'll holler at you. Peace.